On the Go Media proudly presents Between the Ropes with your hosts, Colt Powers and Hunter Dietz.
Welcome back to Between the Ropes. I'm Hunter Dietz. This is Colt Powers. And between us today, we actually have a professional wrestler in studio, Starla Love. Starla, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
Doing great.
Just real quick for us here, not to expose your age or anything, but how long have you been in the business?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And you're still active today, is that correct?
I am. I'm just not full-time active. I have a 9-to-5 job, and so I just do it. I'm older, so I can't take the bumps anymore, really, so I do it when I just get the urge or somebody asks. I don't go looking for jobs anymore.
Sure, yeah. Do you have in that time a defining moment that kind of sticks out to you as maybe a favorite match of yours or something? I know I'm jumping in here real quick, but at the top of my head.
A favorite match?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say a favorite match. I love wrestling everyone that I wrestle. You always learn something new, especially with somebody that's been in it for a long time. I would say a favorite moment I have. I started out as a face, and so then I wrestled for many years doing a face, and then I did the Hulk Hogan Micro Championship Wrestling through True TV reality show, and I turned into a heel on that show. And the other guys were telling me, you'll know your moment when you really did your job of being a heel. And we were in California doing a show, and at the end we always did the who we were and bowed and all that. And then they got to me, and everybody in the auditorium stood up and went, boo! And, that was the greatest moment ever because I did my job. And, that's always stuck with me.
So you mentioned you did Hulk Hogan's micro wrestling. So you got to interact with Hulk Hogan?
Yes. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff had called me one day. Well, Eric Bischoff had called and asked me to do a reality TV show and come out and audition, and they flew me to Florida, and it only lasted a season, but it was a great experience, and Hulk Hogan was great. He was very understanding and patient, and it was really fun. There were other midgets, micro wrestlers on the show, and they taught me a lot, and because I did a lot of Midwest shows more so. I never really got too far out until the show aired, and then I did Canada and California, all of Midwest. I've been quite a few places.
So going back, you got a call from Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
So just randomly one day you get a phone call from Eric. Did you say BS? Or somebody's ribbing you? Or?
It was yes, actually. So I was somewhat trained by Buck Zumoff, which I don't really like to say his name because of all the drama he's had, and he's in prison now. But unfortunately, that's how I started, and didn't know his past when I ran with him. But the boys that also ran with him were great. They trained me in the ring and everything. I never actually went to a school, but I do highly recommend it if you are gonna go, because schools can teach you way more. And Buck Zumoff had called me and said, "Are you sitting down?" I was like, "What? What are you doing? What's going on?" He's like, "Well, we had Honky Tonk Man and some other guys on the show one time, and they had mentioned to Eric Bischoff about me wrestling and Eric and Hulk Hogan, and so then Brutus the Beefcake Cupcake Barber actually is the one that had told them about me.
Okay.
And so they had called Zoom Off, and Zoom Off called me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay. And he's like, no, they'll be calling anytime. And he did. He called me and asked me questions, and then asked if I wanted to come out and audition. And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, pay your way. I was like, definitely then. So
Even better. Even
yes,
better.
yes.
So at least you kind of got smartened up to it, not just completely out of the blue air calling you. And,
Right.
okay, all
Yeah, I probably would have hung up on. Yeah,
I'd have
okay.
called a BS. And
Yeah. Yeah.
But you mentioned before that you started off in the Midwest, kind of wrestling around these regional promotions, and then eventually you're in Florida. Obviously, times have changed now, and things are kind of standardized.
Oh, yes.
But is there a different style that you play to for a crowd in Florida than you do for a crowd in Iowa, or?
Not necessarily in the ring. It's not nearly like Florida versus Iowa or Midwest. It's like the crowd. Like, you can tell if the crowd's into it, if they're actually wrestling fans or not, and you kind of adjust that way to get them going based on if they are there just because it's a show or they're really hardcore fans, and then that's how you adjust. But yeah.
So then, when you have a crowd that maybe doesn't feel like they're into it, how do you get them back into it to the point where, they get up on their feet?
Well, maybe you should go to one of my shows, and then you
Oh,
know. So because I'm a heel, I will not very. I'm kind of mean, but I'm not so mean where I hurt their feelings or degrade them. I just say something. I can't tell you what I say because I don't know at the time. It just comes out, and then you can kind of read people if they're into it. They're okay with you kind of picking on them, or if they would get offended per se. So you kind of stay back away from the ones that you don't think will like it, and then you kind of just dig into the ones that would like it. And then once one person gets going, usually most everybody does.
Well, and you mentioned earlier, I do want to go back to, you were talking about how you were wrestling in this promotion. You referred to it as midget and micro. I know that people are kind of interested in what the right term is. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So me personally, what I've experienced over the years is I think it's each person. Like, there are ones that, like, all the boys on the Hulk Hogan show, most of the boys on the Hulk Hogan show preferred to be called midgets. They didn't want to be called little people. And micro was always fine with, so far, anybody that I've ever met. But little people, they didn't like. Now, down this area, I've noticed, like, when we do shows, they put on little people wrestling, not midgets, because it offends this area, which is understandable. They don't want to offend anybody. So, like, you're going to have people that hate certain things no matter what you do, so you just do whatever you're comfortable with.
That's interesting. And obviously you broke into the business, you said, about 20 years ago. You had to have been a wrestling fan, I assume, growing up.
Oh, yeah.
So what who were your top guys growing up that kind of made you and solidified you as a wrestling fan?
My ultimate favorite was the Bushwhackers.
Yeah.
All right.
So I really enjoyed them. Believe it or not, I went to a live wrestling with my brothers when I was like, I'd say 10 years old or something, and I just always liked it. And I had a Nintendo, and I'd play the, wrestling games off of Nintendo, and I just fell in love with it. I'll be honest, I don't really watch wrestling now. I'm just too busy, but I'm sure it's about the same. Once in a while, I see stuff when they come in the area. Sometimes I'll go to a show if I see somebody I like on it, or my son. I've taken him to live shows, but.
Well, and that's something that we've been kind of trying to get across to some of the people on the podcast the last few weeks, is wrestling in person is just so much different than watching it on TV.
Way different.
And being there to experience a crowd, if you've never done it before, you're part of the show, right?
Yeah.
It's so exciting to go and be a part of the show in a way that you can't be when it's on TV. How does that change kind of as a performer? I know I asked about if the fans aren't into it, but have you ever been in front of a crowd that's really hot and they're just into it all night long?
Most of the time they're into it, mostly. But what's really hard is when they're not into it and they're just sitting there like this and not interacting. And so then it makes us as performers, it makes it harder because we can't read them. We can't read if they're liking certain moves. We can't read if they're liking the matches. Like, you can't read them. So then it makes the match harder because you don't know where to go from there. Like, and then that's the hardest part, is to get somebody off their butt and like, come on, let's go.
Yep. Cool. You were talking to me earlier about kind of some of these independent wrestlers and these independent wrestling shows that we see across Iowa, and like we were saying about how it's important to go to those. Do you have any questions for Starla about the independent wrestling scene?
Well, so like you mentioned, for one, is when you go to a show and you're not performing, you're just out in the crowd, do you find yourself kind of judging some things, or do you find yourself wishing you were in there, or how do you feel when you're on the other side?
Yeah, when I go to a show, I definitely wish I was in the ring all the time. And sometimes I'm not going to lie, I'll take my gear just in case. But I don't ever judge a match because you never know. Everybody makes mistakes. And honestly, I don't know their match, so I don't know if they did it on purpose or not. Like, right. It's all whatever. Like, and people are green. You don't know if they're learning still and stuff, and so you don't. I hope nobody tries to judge when they go. But yeah, it's nice to. It's also nice to see other like performers and sit there and do certain things, and I'm like, wow, that was neat. Like, that was cool. I wish I could do that. But I physically can't do a lot of the stuff that the wrestlers do. Yep. So a lot of my matches are kind of funny stuff. And that seems to get over pretty well most of the time. I actually got my oldest daughter into it, and that's kind of why I do it now, because she likes to do it once in a while too. So then I go a lot for her.
And, that's all right.
Yeah, and little people, girls they're hard to come by, so they're always looking for the girl aspect of it.
Yep.
And in general, girls in wrestling. So girls, ladies, you can do it. Get out there and go find a school and do it, because I'm telling you, I never thought I'd be one. And then I went to a show one time in Manly, and that's where it started.
Had to get you hooked, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, while we're talking about some of these crowds that you've performed in front of and some of these shows you've done, do you have any estimate of the smallest crowd that you performed in front of, or the biggest crowd that you performed in front of?
Oh, well, I think the biggest crowd was probably in California, where it was like a auditorium, like the seats went high up and stuff. I don't know how many were there, but there were quite a bit of people there, and they were all full. The seats were full, and they had been there before the show even had aired, because it was Johnny Green that was the promoter and his boys. So, like, I came in and joined them, and they didn't really like that I came in at first, because I got brought in by Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, so they thought, I was like special or something. I'm like, I'm not special. I don't even know him. Like, I'm great. I'm happy to be here. But so they shunned me at first, which is normal in the business. So, but after you got to know them, and they saw that I was nothing compared to them. So like, they really took me in as a family, and we still today, they are like family. We had one of the guys that were on the show was on our show Saturday that we did. He flew in and he reffed our match. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, so we're like family. The smallest crowd, I'd say, believe it or not, was, I'd say, 2 people, I think, back in the day. And you still perform. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you got 2 people there or a million there. You got to give them your all and the best you can. So
Yeah. Treat every show like it's WrestleMania, right?
there you go.
Yep.
Yes.
I was also going to ask, the thought crossed my mind earlier today, because we don't get to talk about this a lot. With some of the smaller wrestlers in history, you know, whether it's been, you know, Haiti Kid or Sky Low, or, you know, some of those micros from back in the day. Were you inspired by any of them at all, or did that never even come into the picture?
Honestly, it never came in the picture. I watched 80s back in the day, and it was always like that crowd, Bushwhackers, Hulk Hogan, those guys,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, honestly, those are the guys that inspired me, and like the Undertaker and stuff like them. And there's some women that I've watched on like YouTube and stuff and seen, and I don't even know their names, but I'm like, dang, like they're good. Like, where are they at, you know? But yeah, so no, I can't say that smaller wrestlers have ever inspired me other than the boys that I've wrestled with on shows.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Colt, I see you're thinking over there. What do you?
I'm always
What do you got brewing?
thinking. So I just so you've done a lot of Midwest shows, and then you go to the micro with Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. So that's filmed.
Correct.
In a lot. So did you find that it was a lot different working with cameras and working where you had to? Because were you live on camera for shows like a Raw or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
So did you find that it was harder to do that when you had cameras that you had to make sure you did angles in front of, or was it just?
No, we just did our show, and it was up to the cameraman and the crew to get their shots. So
Okay.
we just did. I mean, we're kind of told where the cameras were just so they knew, just so we knew, and like so they could get pictures. Like if somebody was taking pictures, then we had to, you know, your normal get in the ring and pose just so they could get a good shot. But otherwise, no, it wasn't any different. I suppose if you're camera shy, but I'm not camera shy, so it wasn't. The lights were different. It made you hot, so it would blow you up in the ring a lot. So like that was a little difficult because you'd
Okay.
be doing your match and you're blowing up and you're hot because of the lights, and that was a little challenging, but
Okay.
you got used to it.
Yeah. So, and the biggest reason I ask that is because I watch a lot of other podcasts and stuff, and Triple H talking with Cody Rhodes here this last week was talking to about Bobby Roode, who's now become a producer backstage, and his opinion to Triple H was when you bring guys up, now they have their performance center and train the guys to look into the, you know, where the cameras are to
Sure.
make sure you're doing the move so that way you see it in the
Sure.
right angles and all that kind of stuff. So I was just
Sure.
curious, being that, you know, you were on camera and you were filming.
But
for
you
that.
have to realize though, they film theirs to do like weekly or whatever.
Yeah.
We weren't that way. We filmed in live, but they also didn't show it live on a TV. They didn't show any of our stuff until it aired on True TV, and that was months later.
So they had multiple.
So they
cameras
had,
and-
yeah, so they had a way to cut it, and a lot of stuff, good stuff, ended up on the editing floor, honestly. So, yeah.
That's the hard part when you've got somebody else in charge of stuff. So.
Yeah.
So have you've done stuff around the Midwest? What's, in your opinion, probably the biggest promotion that you've worked with then?
I don't know, because they're all the same to me. Like I don't
All-
really pay attention to how many shows they've run and all that. I just basically, they call me if it's close by or I'm available. I'll look them up to make sure it's a legit thing. And most of the time I know the person anyway.
Okay.
So I don't know like biggest, I guess, but I've done some shows in Minneapolis. They put on, I don't know if they still do, but they used to put on this pretty big show out there. And I think it was a couple promoters that put it on. But that was, what, long time ago.
Okay.
Like when I first got in the business.
Okay.
So like I couldn't even tell you who put it on, maybe.
Okay. So there's some networking and stuff going on. People, you know, and now you can kind of reach out. They can reach out to you.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Most of the time people reach out to me because I don't look for work anymore. I
Okay.
just do it to help somebody out or because I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do it. But I don't really go looking for it anymore.
so the other night, when I was telling Hunter, I didn't realize you were still working until I happened to see a photo from a guy that we follow, Austin Bayless, and we saw that photo. So how did that come about that you were working the other night in Coralville, was it?
Yes. So Shane, a friend of mine, he actually helped train me before I got on the True TV show. And Pat Tanaka, by the way, was on that show as well, and
Okay.
Brian Knobs from MCW on the True TV, and they trained me even more so on the show. But so Shane originally trained me when I first broke in the business, and he came back from California. He lives in Iowa now. And so he called and he's like, hey, I want to book this, da-da-da. And he's like, all right, for you, I guess, because he's like a brother to me. You know, we've been through a lot. He's like family. So I was like, yeah, I'll come down. We'll come down. And so it was me and my daughter.
Okay. So the timing of us asking you to do the podcast
Yeah,
and this
it
all
was coincidental.
very
Yeah.
coincidental. I thought, well, this is strange. I didn't think she was still working. I told Hunter when I came in this morning, so it's like, oh, something else to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Just kind of a miscellaneous question. I wish I was able to segue off of that a little bit better, but the thought came to me, gimmick matches. Have you been in some gimmick matches, whether, I don't know, a battle royal or
Well, yeah, battle
match?
We do battle royals. We do like 6-man tags and stuff too. I'm not a hardcore person, so I won't do like weapons match or nothing like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, we'll do those. Those are actually, in my opinion, a little easier to do than a one-on-one match because the boys kind of take over.
Sure. And you mentioned a couple times your love for the Bushwhackers, and you said that you've been in some 6-man tags. Have you been in a lot of tag team matches? And is that a style that you like to work, being in tag teams?
Yeah, whatever the promoter wants, I'm fine with. It's not any different from working in general. So like as long as I can trust whoever's in the ring, I'm okay with. I mean, back in the day, I've had some guys that just broke in the business and they get in and just start tossing people out. And I'm like, whoa, dude, you're going to injure somebody. But yeah, I've been injured a few times in a match, but most of the time I trust the people. And most of the time they're not on the show if they can't, the promoter. If the promoter's good enough, they're not going to just book anybody.
What sorts of injuries have you sustained?
I fractured my pelvic one time on a show. It was a hairline fracture. So I finished the match and the show, and then I went to the doctor on Monday, and they're like, yeah, you got a hairline fracture in your pelvic. And, well, last night I got this, which is minor, but a little bruise there. Just minor stuff mostly, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, yeah. I'm not cut out for it, I don't think.
Sure you are.
So since you don't do a whole lot of matches, how do you train or how do you prepare yourself to get ready to take some bumps, especially if it's, far in between?
Well, that's a good question because I would love to say I work out all the time, but in reality I don't anymore because I'm just busy and my body just can't take it. But so I'm not gonna lie, when I do the matches, I try to prepare myself by stretching and stuff, but at the same time It takes me a while to recover from a match. It took me 2 days. I'm still sore today, actually. So, yeah.
So there's not a whole lot extra to do. It's just you're used to it in the sense that you've done it enough. You kind of know what's coming. You more than anything, it's a mental preparation.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in pain for a few days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
all right.
the main reason why I don't do it every week like I used to.
Well, and don't let Colt pretend that he doesn't know what he's talking about here. Colt is a trained professional wrestler.
Well,
And you are.
He is. He is.
I did it for a short time at USW when they had their shows from, was it Kesley?
I was like a year old. I don't know.
I can't remember the time. It's up north by Manly and stuff.
Okay.
So I did it for about a year and a half, give or take. And so a lot of fun, but that company didn't last very long, at least once I got involved with it. But
It's hard. Promoting's hard. It is. Like if you don't have the shows and people don't want to pay the boys, like it's hard to stay open. It's hard to run the shows because it costs money, you know.
And my pay was training, which
Yeah,
I was
and that's
100%
normal.
fine with.
And
but-
that is actually normal because, in all honesty, wrestlers really don't get paid a lot. They might get their gas money, but that's.
Yep.
I mean, you really have to love the business because you're not going to be a millionaire doing it,
Right?
Unless you get picked up by somebody like that's
You
really
gotta
pro
get to
like
the-
Hulk and all those
Yeah.
guys. But yeah, you have to really love the business.
You gotta love it. You gotta, and I think one of the biggest reasons that the USW didn't continue was the last I heard somebody borrowed the ring, took it to Minnesota, and the ring never came
Never
back. So,
returned it?
Yeah,
I heard something about a story like that. I thought it was a rib.
No, it was true because I never got another call to come back because they didn't have a ring. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
like, but it was one of those that I loved it. I had a great time, but they weren't ever paying a whole lot. It was, we were in a like community, the school, Kesley School, I think,
Okay.
or Kensett. Which one's over by Ackley, Kesley or Kensett?
By Ackley?
Yeah, is that? Which town's by
Well,
Ackley? Is that
I
over in your
Is
direction?
it?
I wouldn't say that either one of them are like close. I guess Kesley's closer.
So Kensett's up by Mason City then.
Yeah.
It'd be so it was in the Kensett Community Center or Kensett School or something is where we did a lot of them. But there
Okay.
was a bar just north of Mason City near Manly. I think I was in. There was a few.
I've done that bar.
Yeah, there's a
Yep.
few of them up in that area that
Yep.
it was fun. I had a good time, but unfortunately didn't last long enough. And at the time, I was just starting out with family, so I didn't get to continue because I couldn't go to schools and stuff like that all around because I couldn't afford it. So
Well, yeah. What was your name?
Colt Powers.
Oh, okay.
I actually had to prove to
That's-
them. They made me bring my license and social security. They're like they thought I was giving them my gimmick name.
Oh.
And they're like, no, what's your real name? I said, no, Colt Powers.
Everybody does that. Like, to me too, because they're like, Starla, that's your wrestling name.
Yeah.
I said, Starla's my real name
But
too.
it's no, I had to prove to them that was my name, Colt Powers, and so I wrestled. I don't know if you knew or watched The Real Deal, Dean Collins, TRD.
I don't think so. Oh, it
He's-
doesn't ring a bell. but-
Okay, he's one that he's still up in the Mason City area. He was one of the bigger ones I think that came through there. Like I
Okay.
said, it wasn't huge, but it was a lot of fun. So
Yeah, they are fun. I've done all kinds of places. We started out in bars, doing bar shows. Those are pretty fun. I've done big auditoriums. Like I feel like when you get to Florida and California and stuff, they have the bigger events. I mean, you have them around here too, of course, but a lot of areas around here are either convention centers or bars or stuff like that, which is fine. I mean, it's entertainment to everyone, so it's nice. Sometimes the bar shows end up being better.
they can be a lot of fun, especially when people start getting a little loosened up and
Yeah,
having
for
some fun
sure,
with it,
for
so.
sure. But no drinking before a match, because you will hurt somebody.
Yeah, you don't drink before a match,
No.
but the rest of the people that are there watching,
yes,
absolutely.
for sure, for sure.
So to any promoters out there, if you got $1 million burning a hole in your pocket, Colt and Starla both available to take bumps for $1 million.
I'll take him on. I have a whip, so we'll whip him.
This is perfect. This is perfect. All right. Well, Starla, we do want to respect your time. We appreciate you coming in here and doing this interview for us. Colt, do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up here?
Just very much appreciate you stopping in, and glad I saw that you were still active and doing stuff. So that is awesome. We'll have to talk later or sometime about going to different shows if you have anything coming up, or if I had a quick question, how would you find out for people that are watching independent shows? It's not like they're we have social medias, we have stuff like that, but how do you find that, hey, this independent show is actually near me? Because again, if I wasn't friends with Austin, I wouldn't have known about the show in
if people pay attention, most promoters will make a flyer and they will put that flyer on social media. Okay. So if you see one, the address and stuff is usually on the flyer, so you Google it, see if it's by you. I mean, or you can maybe Google wrestling in the area. I don't know what I'll pop. I don't do that. I just pay attention to what flyers are on social media or out in the community, So
it's something to do a quick search for.
For sure, absolutely. And if you see this lovely young lady on a poster, you got to make sure that you go to that show, because she's not doing it all the time. It's special one-off appearances,
You're correct.
Rare
You're correct.
Special
That's absolutely right. Okay. Well, like we said, we appreciate you coming on the show, Starla.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely, without a doubt. For Colt Powers, for Starla Love, I have been Hunter Dietz, and this has been Between the Ropes, an On The Go Media podcast production.